Remember yesterday when I was like, can we get Popeyes today? And you said, yeah, sure.
We can get Popeyes
Where
after.
is it? I was expecting it here when I arrived.
One of those a day for the rest of my life. It's kind of like Chick-fil-A, but like...
You won't live a long life, my friend.
It's like Chick-fil-A without all like the Christianity taste. So I prefer that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been baptized or anything like that. So, it's not being fried in holy water.
Yes.
The memes about Popeyes, and is this the cold opening? Are we keeping this?
I thought we weren't doing one.
This sounds very cold opening. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Bo Oliver, joined today by Aaron and Marissa, and we are going to do The Boys. Do The Boys. We're going to record a spoiler discussion on The Boys.
Yes.
We're not going to do The Boys. We're going to review The Boys. We already did our review, but in the spoiler discussions, we like to get into more of the details that we don't really get to discuss on those reviews. They're more laid back. This is more kind of laid back as well, just longer. But we're going to touch on a lot of the themes. It's a heavy show, surprisingly heavy. There's a lot of characters to get into. It's an ensemble cast, a lot of great character moments and character arcs in this show. So, yeah, I say let's jump right into it. How'd you guys like The Boys? Marissa, we'll start with you.
I like that intro.
Thank you. That's good. Practice it in the mirror.
Okay. I really like The Boys. I mean, it's a superhero show, and superheroes are my thing. And if I was going to watch anything, it would probably be The Boys. But I was actually surprised by how much I liked it, because I watched the first episode and didn't pick it back up for a couple weeks. But the whole 8-episode season thing really got me. I was like,
Yeah.
This seems perfect. It won't take up that much of my time. And then it got to the point where I had to go to work, and I was sad because I was like, I can't watch The Boys anymore.
Yeah, it's one of the best binges I've had in a while. Stranger Things was a good binge the first time I ever watched it. That was fun. Chernobyl was good. But The Boys was just, I couldn't put it down. It's like a book. It's a page turner, but it's a television show.
Yeah, the first night I finished like 4, and I started at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows that just keeps you up. Same thing, working and then put on The Boys at night and just run through 3 episodes. But I think the thing that I want to start with on this review would be kind of the character pairings that we had throughout the season. We didn't really discuss that. I guess we'll start with Frenchie and Kimiko. That was one of the most fascinating relationships of the season, and the character of Kimiko is something we didn't really touch on in the previous review, but she's kind of the face of what Homelander does with the Compound V. Just giving it to people in these countries that are ravaged by civil war, that have terrorist organizations taking over, and they're giving it to these soldiers to make them supervillains. And as Homelander says, sequel after sequel after sequel. But her whole story, that mini story within the 8 episodes, was great. And her relationship with Frenchie was so wholesome.
They're adorable.
Yeah, they are adorable.
You know what I like about Amazon Prime is when you pause it, it shows you who's in the scene and what the names of the characters are.
Oh, yeah, that's clutch.
Yeah, that is cool.
I think her name was just the girl, so he had the boys and she was the girl.
Right, yeah,
Until
yeah.
they found out her name.
Right.
Yeah, that relationship was great. The character, too, of Frenchie, he was, he was a pleasant character. He was always, like, wacky. He's doing fucking acid and whatever. It was like a
Speaking
blend.
French.
I would die for Frenchie.
You would die for
I
Frenchie?
texted you. 2
Yeah, you
episodes in, I was like, I would die for Frenchie.
You might have to in season 2.
Honestly, yeah.
You might have to die for all the boys.
And he was kind of like her shield from Butcher and, I guess, to an extent, Mother's Milk, because they don't have the best experience with soups in the past. So he was kind of protecting her a lot of the times from Billy. And we learn later that Billy's animosity towards superheroes is probably unredeemable, I guess, in his eyes, because of what happened with his own personal experience. So it was nice to have him, and I guess Huey to an extent too, kind of, I guess, being that barricade between her and Butcher, who probably would have ended up either leaving her or killing her.
Yeah, there's a point I want to make about Butcher and Homelander before we get back into Frenchie and Kimiko. I don't want to forget it, that they're basically, their crusades are built on lies. Homelander was lied to by Stillwell, and I forget the name of the scientist that created him.
Vogelbaum?
Yeah, and also Butcher as well, because we don't know if it's necessarily a lie, but it looks like Mallory told him, hey, your wife was raped by Homelander, that she didn't actually know, but the way that she was able to show him footage, it was easy to paint that and create the monster that became Billy Butcher. Where
The footage itself is also kind of, what they did, but it's ambiguous as to if she was forced, if she was raped, like what the nature of their relationship was in the first place.
My idea is that the relationship began as consensual. She cheated on Billy with Homelander. I mean, Homelander is Homelander in her eyes, this superstar, greatest hero in the world. And then she got pregnant, and she was like, what the hell?
I mean,
they left it open-ended, I think, and I think we'll find out in season 2.
But you had the idea that maybe she's being kept hostage, that you have to stay here, raise this child, because that look that she gives to Billy at the end was
I
like,
think at
"Save
that
me."
point, because it's clear that Homelander didn't know what was going on. So I think
that's what I believe.
At that point, like, she is being held hostage to raise the kid because they made that whole point about Homelander not being raised by a family, and that's why he's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they believe that it contributed to him, like, not really having empathy for actual real people.
I mean, Voight's probably the most powerful corporation in the world right now. So
Is it Voight or Vought?
Voight, Luke Voigt.
You always
first
make
baseman.
me think of John Voight, Angelina Jolie's father.
Okay. Yeah,
He's the founder of Voight.
yeah. So it's easy for them probably to, I guess, wipe everything away and kind of just set them aside and clear their names and give them basically new identities. And like he said too, Vogelbaum said that his biggest mistake was Homelander, and he probably could have saw this as an opportunity to be like, hey, we can now have a better Homelander in a controlled environment with the mother in a house, normal upbringing, and maybe this could be what I wanted, what I envisioned when I first
Created him.
created Homelander. Yeah.
It's interesting that he says that because it's the mistake isn't giving this baby superpowers. It's that the baby became evil.
They
He became
treated the baby
sociopathic.
like an experiment, which the baby was an experiment, but the mistake was not also treating him like a person.
He had the blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like a comfy blankie.
We all know how he reacted to the blanket.
Yeah, that scene was so funny. I mean, I felt bad, but the way
Homelander is also, like, really funny.
yeah, he's very funny.
Like, he's funny,
witty.
but it's also terrifying.
Yeah, it's and you know what's interesting is that he clings to humanity. We all say that he's the plane scene, that he didn't really care that these people died, but he wants that. That's why he was so upset with Stillwell.
Yeah, I mean, they do a good job of blending darker elements with comedy, dark comedy, especially with the Deep when he's with that girl in his apartment when he gets sent out to Ohio.
His gills.
And it's like, oh, look at his gills, that's gross. And she's like, but then you realize, like, oh, he's getting assaulted.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like, oh wait, but it's presented even too when A-Train visits the kid in the children's hospital.
Yeah.
And it's kid's like dying.
Oh my
and
God. He's like, can you teach me to outrun cancer? And I was like, oh my God.
And he's like, oh, maybe Translucent will be back next week. And the doctor's like, no, chill.
Yeah, he won't be here. Translucent and the kid won't be here. It was very funny, and they say that the show was more of a serious drama with dark comedy elements, and that the comic is it's more goofy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I definitely appreciated the humor, and the actor Anthony Starr who played Homelander, he was incredible.
He's really perfected that, like, dead behind the eyes kind of look.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
there's
even when he's pretending to be happy.
Yeah, it's like
see
you
it.
can see, like, Homelander's, like, not into it, but he's, like, putting on, like, a performance.
Right.
I was, like, shook.
The way that he's able to turn that on and off. The plane scene, to me, is the best example of that. When he comes on, he's like, I'm going to save everyone here. You're the real heroes. Get the fuck back. I'll laser every one of you. God
that's his
damn it.
catchphrase. Even like with the troops, he's like, oh, remember guys, you're the real heroes.
You're the real heroes. Yeah, he loves saying that. Yeah, but the point that I was making is that even though he is very much sociopathic and he lacks empathy for human beings, he still wants that. And it's always interesting when heroes cling to the humanity that wasn't given to them. Mm-hmm. It's similar to the Vision comic by Tom King. I'm this all-powerful robotic. I'm invulnerable, but why am I here trying to have a family? It's that normalcy that isn't granted to them.
It's a superiority thing, I think, with Homelander, because he wants to be worshipped by, like, the masses.
Yeah.
But he calls them, like, mud people at one point.
Yeah, he did call them mud people.
I mean, we kind of are mud people if you think about it.
Yeah, we do like mud.
Yeah.
Like,
Good point.
Give me a thing of mud, I'll roll around in that shit all day.
I love mud baths.
Which is why
Great for the skin.
with his kid at the end, like, he meets his kid, I'm assuming for the first time, unless they reveal something more with that, but it seems like the kid might be the one person he could respect. Like, he only really, even of the supers, it seems like Maeve is the only one he actually respects in some kind of capacity, even though he still even holds power over her.
Well, that's what's interesting is how strong all these heroes are. A-Train was able to pull a freight train or freight cart with a broken leg. He was just recovering, so he has some sort of super strength. Maeve was hit by that truck, didn't budge, and they're still all terrified of Homelander. So that just goes to show how powerful he is. But his respect for Maeve is interesting because it looks like she's going to have a redemption arc possibly moving forward because her relationship with Starlight, she sees herself in Starlight, and she's kind of become burnt out. She's kind of given up, you know?
She's been in the machine forever.
Yeah.
This is who she is now, or at least that's what she thinks.
And she doesn't enjoy it anymore. It's the other older superheroes, like Translucent was still very much, I'm translucent, I'm the man, people worship me, I'm on Jimmy Fallon.
I like that they chose Jimmy Fallon for that. It felt right.
Wow, you could dispute. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? There he is.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it on the other review. It's you can kind of see how maybe Maeve was like Starlight in the beginning when she first got there, and I think she sees a lot of herself in Starlight. But like you said, she's been in the machine so long that she's kind of lost her way. Or where you can still, like in the airplane, she still has that part of her in her, but it's kind of gotten lost over the years. Where Starlight is kind of, she's not letting herself fall into the same trap that Maeve did. She's kind of
I
standing
mean,
up
they
for
have
it.
that whole thing about how Maeve says, I really did break my arm trying to save those kids.
Right.
And it's something that Starlight had assumed was manufactured, like most everything else is. But no, Maeve really did that because at the beginning of her career, she and Starlight were the same person.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way that they play with worshiping superheroes. It's obviously a commentary on modern society, that the way that we love superhero movies and comics, and these characters have become iconic, and they are manufactured stories. They're not real, but we still look up to them, and it's the whole meeting your heroes thing. That's what they have on the posters. Don't meet your heroes. And it's also celebrity culture with the way that these people get, like you said, they get caught up in the machine, and it's almost like society is creating these monsters. That's very much what they tried to do with the Deep, where they tried to make him sympathetic, but that scene with him and Starlight where he assaults her, when he sexually assaults her, which is, you know, the way that they handled it could be debated. His whole storyline just kind of turned me off.
It was weird because I don't like the Deep. Of the characters in this show, he's the only one I genuinely just did not like or care about. Even Homelander, like, I was interested to see, like, he's the villain. Obviously, we're not supposed to like him, but I was interested to see what he was going to do. And some of the Deep stuff was funny, like the Spice Girls song playing as that dolphin just gets run over by that truck, and it's ridiculous. But he assaulted Starlight, he did that, and he never truly expresses any regret for it. But it seems like the storyline around him is condemning him for it, and it's also trying to paint him in a sympathetic light without the character himself acknowledging that he did anything wrong. And I don't know, I didn't like that.
See, I think you could do that and make it work if the Deep was, I guess, a more interesting character. He's kind of dull.
It seemed like they were trying to make us like him a bit too much for what his story actually was.
Well, they assumed like we would like feel bad that he's in this remote place.
Yeah, and
no
I
one cares
didn't.
about him. I'm like, why are you spending so much time on him? Like, there was really no point to, like, they didn't do anything to try to redeem him.
No.
It's kind
I
of
don't
like,
even think like he needs to be redeemed, or maybe
exactly. Yeah, I don't think he should have been in the first place. But it's like, if you are gonna do that, don't just put him here and be like, oh, look how lonely he is.
It reminded me of kind of just a poor man's Jaime Lannister. Jaime Lannister has committed similar crimes to the Deep. I mean, he's also sexually assaulted his sister. But it's the way that they handled this character. I don't know if he was miscast, but if that's what they were just going for.
He was from Gossip Girl, right?
Yeah, Chase Crawford. He's a good actor, and he just reminds me of a superhero fuckboy.
I mean, I feel like that's the vibe they were going for with the Deep,
but
and I think they accomplished it.
As he kept getting more isolated, it's not that I was happy that he was suffering internally. It was more, this is boring me.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene with his therapist was kind of funny.
Yeah, the therapist scene
he was like,
funny.
I'm the Deep.
Yeah.
I'm a superhero.
And what
I'm
does
in
that
the
mean?
7.
Yeah, right. That was a good scene. But as for the pairings, Billy Butcher and Huey, another relationship where it's kind of a recreation of Butcher's relationship with Mallory, where he was using this traumatic event of Huey losing Robin. And just to touch on that for a second, that scene was horrifying. When I first saw that, when Robin gets obliterated.
Oh my God, yeah.
Imagine that. But somebody on YouTube in the comment section, they were like, skip from 16 seconds to 42, and that's how Huey experienced that, because they do the slow motion. But that's like an instant where you're holding your girlfriend, and then it's just arms and blood all over you. So that's terrifying, horrifying.
On the sidewalk too.
She was one step off the curb. Come on.
I mean, watching it, I was like, what the fuck's going on? Imagine just how Huey felt. And then we see how Billy was able to use that and kind of...
Did you get Walter White, Jesse vibes from them?
A little bit. I mean, Huey was always more reluctant.
Yeah.
because Walt was going to Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right. Walt needed Jesse.
Yeah.
In a way, Butcher
Needed Huey, but Huey was always the one, like, he knew the game.
Yeah.
Where Jesse was teaching Walt. But, yeah, a little bit. And I think that as our relationship progressed, we saw Huey progress, how he dealt with that trauma and how he was able to, I guess, basically do things that he would never even imagine he was capable of, pulling the trigger on Translucent instead of letting him go. And Billy just kept trying to instill these his ideals onto Huey, and we kind of see him, that relationship evolve. And then when he meets Starlight, he kind of gets a new perspective on things.
I mean, Billy's a hypocrite. Mallory helped him in a way weaponize, I guess, his own grief, and that's what has basically kept him going in the 8 years that his wife has been missing. And then he sees Huey, and he's like, a perfect opportunity for me to go for this again, because he basically sees himself in Huey. But the difference is that Huey ends up meeting Starlight.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a Lamplighter situation where Lamplighter burns alive Mallory's grandkids, and it only doubles down on what Billy has believed about supers the whole time. This time, Huey meets Starlight, and he realizes that there are some good superheroes out there. Like, you can't paint them all with the same brush. So then that's the conflict, and that's where Huey and Billy come to blows a lot.
Yeah, Starlight gives him a second chance. That's something Billy never got.
Well, he kind of caught them. They kind of caught each other at the right time because they're both going through that phase of, I guess, they're both changing and they're in these new environments where Starlight is still the same. Like, she aspires to be a hero, and she is different from the rest of them. Because if he met, like, let's say Maeve, she would just be this corporate manufactured superhero with basically everything that she believed in has kind of died over the years, where Starlight is still the person that she thinks she's always wanted to be, like, wants to save, wants to do good. And Huey still has a lot of that innocence left in him, even though he's beginning to be molded by Billy. So they kind of both met at the same time and were able to, I guess, influence their decisions moving forward.
Did you guys enjoy the Starlight character?
I liked her.
Yeah.
It was very, like, if I were to suddenly become a superhero like this, or if I had powers my whole life and I was different, and then I had the chance to join my universe's equivalent of the Justice League,
Yeah.
then I would act like how she acted.
Yeah.
It seems like you're being given a gift. Mm-hmm. Like what her mom raised her as God gave her this gift. And the realization that it is not what she thought it was is devastating.
What did you think about the God angle? Because they use that a lot with Homelander. One of the best scenes of the series is when he's baptizing Huey.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
He's just smiling and holding him underneath the water. Oh my God.
It's one of those, it's like Inglourious Basterds, Christoph Waltz, when he's looking at the young girl. I forget her name.
Shoshana?
Yeah, it's like, I know who you are, and I know what you've done, but I don't know. It's one of those perfect moments of tension.
Yeah.
But the God angle is interesting because people always say the superhero characters are modern mythology. That's our American mythology.
I mean, yeah, it's worship in different ways.
Yeah,
well,
and that's how it would be. I mean, if they always say, you know, when in Man of Steel, when Kal-El is sent to Earth, and his father says they'll worship him like a god. That's what Homelander really is. He's like Jesus to them.
I mean, Homelander as a Superman analog there's that scene in Batman vs. Superman where Superman is being like, people are reaching up to him. He's like bathed in sunlight. It is a godlike image.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting, I guess, wrinkle into the story was the whole Christianity aspect to it. But at first I was like, why are they spending time at these this church gathering, and why are they because they're very aware of demographics and who they want to cater to and who they want to get support from, kind of like politicians. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like they focused on that a lot for, I guess, a group that kind of wants to be in the middle, liked by everybody. Well,
you can understand how society, because modern society is,
yeah,
I guess that's not as appealing as it once was.
Yeah.
But if these heroes existed, you can understand why people would go right back to that.
That made sense, the way they kind of marketed the superheroes, as they were from God, gifts from God. So it makes sense that they would try to, I guess, pander to that particular audience. And I think the abundance of superheroes kind of makes that work too, because...
And that audience probably just increased.
Yeah.
People who, I gotta believe now.
Yeah.
It's Family Guy when Brian meets Jesus.
Yeah.
And Stewie's like, you still don't believe?
Yeah.
It's hard not to when Homelander's up there with his goddamn laser vision flying around.
Yeah, because they everything they try to do, and like every scandal or whatever wrinkle happens into that corporation, they try to be like, all right, we got to appeal to this group and do this for this group. We are trending with these people, and we are kind of declining. But when you incorporate that with all the, we're gifts from God, you were made from God and everything like that, it would make sense to have that aspect within this, I guess, story.
Stillwell, the character of Stillwell, the way that she ran that ship, for a long time, it felt like Homelander was almost intimidated by her. And then she admits at the end that she was always scared of him. She was a great character. And what's interesting is that Homelander, he was taking matters into his own hands when he brings down the plane, the Compound V with the terrorists. Stillwell had some morality to her. Obviously, she's a corporate exec, so she's going to do what's best for the bottom line. But there were decisions that he would make where she would be like, you can't do this. This is ridiculous.
A scene I really loved is, it's either in the second to last or last episode, where I think he's telling her what he's doing with Compound V, and you very pointedly do not see her face.
Yes.
You only see her hair, you see the back of her head, and you see Homelander's reaction, but you never see hers. And then later when she says, like, I've been afraid of you this whole time, it's like you can only imagine what emotion she was showing on her face then.
Right. Well, she even chastises him in the beginning for what he does with the plane. Well, you brought down a goddamn plane.
And you have
What's
to
wrong with
wonder
you?
how much of it is like bravado, like how much of her in front of him is just pretend.
Yeah, because it's almost a mask that she has to pretend that she's confident and that she can control this hero when she knows deep down nobody can.
Because in the beginning, I found her almost as similarly terrifying as Homelander.
Same.
She was like the customer that comes in and like they want to return or something, but there's something you clearly can't return, but they're gonna.
Yeah.
You're
It's
wearing
like-
it right now.
It's like, I can't return this. You don't have the receipt. And she's like, well, I don't care if I don't have the receipt. And it's like, that's the vibe she gave me, like really angry, like soccer mom.
She walks out with a gift card. Not only did she get the return.
It's
but-
like she now is like the manager of the store.
Yeah, Elizabeth Shue was great in that role. And obviously it's so obvious. Obviously it's so obvious. The baby metaphor. I thought the whole time that Homelander was going to...
I thought he was going to like...
I thought he was going to kill that baby.
Yup. He looks at that baby in the first episode and I was like,
I forgot what it's called. I think I showed you that internet video. It's like, I forgot what it's called. It's like the bros of whatever. And the baby's staring. I was like, yo, what are you looking at, little man?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah,
like, dude,
yeah,
yo,
right.
chill, Xander. It's just a baby. He's like, I'm going to fight your fucking baby, bro.
That's how Homelander was looking at that baby.
Yeah.
And it's a metaphor for Stillwell's kind of like Homelander's mommy.
Yeah.
It's like BoJack Horseman. He needed a sex mommy, and that was Stillwell. Weird relationship,
very weird.
but interesting.
And even in the show, they were like, they got a weird relationship, and we don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. Even Mallory, when she tells Butcher, she's like, for some reason, he seems to really like her.
Was it jealousy of the baby?
Yeah, jealousy.
Jealousy
Longing
for
for
her
that.
time, because Homelander, it's like he hates humans, but he also, for some reason, is
Well, it's like what Maeve
he's
says.
still doing what they say,
Right.
essentially. Like when Stillwell gives him a schedule, he follows it. He deviates, but not as much as you would expect someone with his power to deviate.
Well, it's
When
kind
she
of like,
gets the promotion, he's like, "You're still gonna handle my day to day, right?" Gets all nervous. She's like, "Yeah." I'll
well, you
take
kind
care
of see that development from taking down a plane and killing those people just to, like, I guess, help her out. It's like, yeah, I know, like, you didn't ask for it, but I'm trying to help you, into fucking putting his laser eyes through her skull.
I mean, it's like a new
He's like,
sibling.
wait, I don't need you.
Well,
I'm
he killed her.
Homelander.
It's not even that I don't need you. It's I told you not to lie to me.
Yeah.
It's like this partnership is working. We can work well together. You've got the promotion. You've got the keys to the car, and I'm going to help you. And things were good, and then you slipped up.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have lied to him.
His face when she says it was a miscarriage and it's not what the other doctor had told him, I was like,
That's what she says that makes it slip, right?
yeah.
Okay.
She says that it was a miscarriage, but the doctor said that his baby was stillborn.
Right. Yeah, because they show the birth scene, I guess, in the doctor's flashback.
And I remember watching that scene the first time, and I was like, oh, is she just dead? I was like, all this, and she's just been dead the whole time.
Right.
And then, the end of the show happened.
Well, I hated that reveal when Butcher was like, Homelander raped my wife. I thought it was so out of left field. That's his motivation, because Homelander, now he rapes people too. I guess, it's not beneath him to rape somebody. He's a terrible person, but it seemed kind of random. But the way that the plot twist to me was very satisfying at the end.
Yeah.
Because like Marissa said the same thing, that I thought this was going to be a one-off. So I kept watching the clock, like,
too.
how are they going to wrap this up?
Yeah, last episode, I was like, I think I texted you. The very end of the episode, they're in Stillwell's house. They're talking. I was like, this is the longest episode of all time. And then I checked how much time was left, and I was like, 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I guess there's a season 2. I thought the show was a one and done.
Yeah, same. That was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation between Butcher and Homelander.
And
Well,
when
what
he's
was
just
his-
like, oh, damn, or whatever he says.
He's like, yeah, I forget what he says. But
and he
it's
just
kinda
blows
like,
up the building anyway. I was like, I was expecting, or I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, after all that, I thought I would have seen maybe slightly more from Butcher.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, he's just like, you know what? Just gonna blow myself up.
And he killed the baby too, probably.
Oh, 100%. Homelander wasn't saving that baby.
No. He probably saved him and then punched him.
Also, too, like how we said with Butcher's wife, like how he said that she would just sit on that bench for hours and hours, I guess, contemplating either what had happened or what she's going to do, knowing that she's pregnant with Homelander's baby. So it's kind of interesting. I wonder how that lends to whether or not what actually transpired.
Yeah, I love shows like this when there's a history between the characters, the history with Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and the boys, and what happened with Mallory. And I hope they get into that, kind of what they did to Becca. Maybe she was sitting on that bench contemplating her options. They were blackmailing the shit out of her.
Mm-hmm.
She did what she did to protect Butcher.
If you
possibly.
go home, we'll kill your husband or something like that.
Right.
And
So it's gonna be cool to see them get into her mindset, because it looks like she's gonna have a major role in season 2, and you have to wonder how the fuck Butcher is gonna get out of that. You know, that's a pickle.
When Homelander's like, oh, come on, get up. You're gonna love this.
Yeah, the sun is out. They're in the suburbs. It was such a weird ending, and I loved it. Also, A-Train. Apparently, he has a lot more to do in the show. In the comic, he's kind of just there to be fast and kill Huey's girlfriend.
Weirdly, by the end, I kind of felt bad for A-Train.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I was like, you brought all of this upon yourself.
That scene
But-
with A-Train and Huey, when he's blaming Huey for Popclaw's death, that got to me. That was an emotional scene.
And his heart is like, you'd hear it beating like faster and faster because he's basically overdosing.
Yeah, and he says, what I did was an accident, but everything you've done is deliberate.
And
You've
he's right.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, he
Like,
makes,
to
he
an
makes a lot of
extent.
good points.
I mean, he's still the one who got high and then ran through a person.
right.
And then seemed to like express no regret whatsoever or any
well,
kind
he's
of
at the
remorse.
club and he's like, yeah, I just ran through this bitch, and then they start laughing.
It's like her molar was in my mouth.
Yeah, right. Because in the moment when he's like, I can't stop, I thought that was because I had no idea what I was getting myself into with the show. I thought maybe he was just a rogue hero that made a mistake. I didn't know how that was going to tie in, but then they kind of just cleaned it up. Try and get Huey to sign the NDA, say that it was an accident, and like you said, he doesn't really show remorse. But it's the character of Popclaw.
they lowballed him, huh?
They did lowball him, right? Your Vought?
Yeah. $1 billion corporation. He has information that would topple you guys down to 7, these gods. You know,
Give him $1 million.
at least.
$5 million. Season tickets to the Yankees. Come on, boy.
Front row seats to the big race.
This
Yeah.
is a complete side note, but apparently the show takes place in New York, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was a different city like the whole time.
It looks different. It looks it's kind of like it's definitely not shot in New York.
Oh, definitely not. But
Yeah.
every time they were like, this is New York. I'm like, is it?
Yeah, it's like the Spider-Man movies in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like, this is New York.
This is definitely Queens. I don't think so. Popclaw's death, I thought, was when he gives her that speech about their first date. That was sad.
Yeah.
He's A-Train. He's the man. He can have any girl he wants, and he's dating little Popclaw.
It's because they met on that show when they were basically kids.
Dude, when Mesmer goes to give Homelander that information, he's like, yeah, I was on Team Kicks. He's like, gee golly fuck. Who do you... Like, I would give 2 fucks about that.
Butcher really went at Mesmer, didn't he?
Dude, he just...
He bashed his face in,
Yeah.
and then he wiped off his face and left.
He was like, I can help you. Butcher was like, no, you can't.
Yeah, he did fuck him up.
That was a nice touch, Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah.
It's the child star as Mesmer. And the way that they shot that old show was so 90s procedural television.
I think of Billy Zane.
Who is Billy Zane?
Titanic, Twin Peaks.
Who did he play?
And Titanic?
No, in The Boys.
Billy Zane. He was in the
Oh, he was in the show in the old...
he was in the Comic-Con thing. It was like, meet Billy Zane. He was like next to Mesmer's booth. He's just sitting there
okay.
signing graphs.
That's funny. He was also in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, he was.
That's weird. It's Audrey's boyfriend. Yeah, that was a nice touch. Now, Black Noir is a character that they don't really do much with.
He was so funny. He didn't do anything. He was hilarious.
My favorite part's when he's like, Homelander's like, you guys been fucking up lately, like really messing up. What's up with Black Noir here? And he's just sitting there on the other side.
You're doing
That
great.
was so funny. And then he plays the piano later, or he just sits on the piano bench and like stares at that dude. And then the dude's like, I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
And then he like rips it on the piano.
I was hoping that he was almost the Batman character where they didn't show him as much because he was cooking up something on the low, where he kind of knew that Vault was an evil corporation, and his entrance into the Seven was an infiltration, that he was kind of fooling them. It's interesting to see what they're going to do with him moving forward, if they give him more screen time, if his powers are kind of, I don't know what his powers are.
I mean, he ripped open Kamiko. Like, he ripped her stomach open.
Yeah.
That was him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, when they're fighting in the alley.
And she has superpowers, so he has to be superpowered in some kind of way.
He kind of was like the kind of Batman, I guess. Kind of
He's
like
a black Batman.
with like ninja, but he'll
Yeah.
kill with his swords and stuff. I don't know. Maybe they'll get into him more in season 2, but he really had nothing to do this season as far as character development. He was just a silent guy on the other side of the table.
Which I think that was fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're not going to get to know every character of the Seven, or every person who's
Hang
in
out
the
with the
Seven.
deep in the middle of Ohio, but God forbid they
Yeah, God
give
forbid
Black
we see
Noir some development.
just a nice little Black Noir mission.
Although I did like when he was drinking the tea in the promo.
That was funny. Those promos were so good. I guess we haven't really talked about Mother's Milk. We didn't really talk about him on the other review as well, but he was a good character. He's kind of I love the joke when he figures out that Popclaw has that emergency kit for drugs, and Butcher's like, Sherlock fucking homie. But he was good, you know. He's the big, tough, muscular guy, but he's a softie.
Yeah, his introduction, he's like, I guess it's like a juvenile facility.
Right, yeah.
And he's like taking care of the kids. You know, it shows his character. He's caring, and
But he has that itch.
Yeah,
He's
he
got
needs
that itch to get back in the game.
Yeah.
It's as soon as Butcher says we off the soup, it's like, tell me every detail.
What wife and kid?
Yeah, I got a wife and kid. We killed the soup. Not anymore. Divorce.
She really is going to leave him. Like, the scene where he has to go and tell his wife and kid that basically they got burned and it's all his fault, and he's been lying about what they've been doing this whole time. Obviously, the Seven, they're not in the right here. They're not doing anything. If there's any character who's, like, morally right in any kind of capacity, I would say it's Starlight. But, like, the boys themselves aren't that great either. Like,
No.
they might have, like, the right intentions, which, depending on what you think their intentions are, is whatever. But they're definitely not going about it the right way.
That's what I like about the boys, is that they're not this black ops geared up group, is that they kind of suck.
Like,
They're kind of all-
the show
they're
itself does not treat them as necessarily the heroes to the villains of the story.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, the heroes are the bad guys, and so then our protagonists must be the actual heroes. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Well, Butcher, you can make the case that Butcher is also a psychopath.
Well, he's the case of like taking it too far. It's like, oh, Huey, you want revenge for your girlfriend that got ran through? It's like, all right, yeah, that sounds good. It's like, all right, it's cool. Let's team up together. So, Mother's Milk, you want to help restore order and take down this evil corporation of superheroes? Like, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, he just takes it the next step too far. It's like, yeah, just murder all of them.
Well, when he's in the support group, when
So,
he
yeah,
just
we-
starts yelling at all the survivors.
Yeah.
He's like, you should be out there with a fucking chainsaw going
Yeah.
after them.
It's like, hey, bro, we have like evidence and stuff. It's like, yeah, but let's kill him.
Let's
all.
get
I mean,
a fucking chainsaw.
when they
Oh,
have-
no Homelander? Sorry.
Yeah, when they have that opportunity.
Yeah.
They literally have the opportunity to take down Vought. Like, it's there. But he can't get Homelander, so then he basically busts the whole operation. Like,
That delay screwed them.
Yeah, and it's his fault. And he never properly acknowledges that it is his fault. Like, the reason they all get burned, all of this stuff, that's on him.
Yeah. And he
And-
is the thing that it's he's very effective at his job. He's good at his job.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that-
he's a great manipulator.
yeah. But that personal vengeance that he has, that he wants to
He can't, like, get out of his own way.
yeah, exactly. That scene frustrated me so much. And Mother's Milk knows right away. It's like, oh, she wouldn't finance us. It's like, yeah, no dice. Yeah, it's ridiculous that even when Homelander is confronting him at the end, and he says, "You're not scared. You're angry," which is kind of impressive that he's standing in the face of. It's like Batman standing face to face with the god and not flinching.
I think even Homelander says, it's like, what did you want from this? What was your goal? I didn't know what Billy would say.
Yeah,
And I feel like Billy didn't know what he was going to say.
Yeah, he had nothing to say. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm just going to blow this up.
Yeah, Homelander
That's
very
my plan.
logic. Yeah. He like presented him with logic, and Billy was like, "I still have a bomb.
Yeah.
Minus if you
You know I'm Homelander, right?
yeah,
It's
that's
like,
a good
yeah, but I'll
point.
just blow up your only weakness. It's like, yeah, I got you. Save your energy.
The-
I'll take
the-
care of that myself.
Yeah. I was wondering how far it went back because it did remind me of My Hero. It's like people in society were developing these powers or quirks, as they're called in My Hero. I wonder.
It reminded me of Stain. the Stain
Yeah.
arc for My
Yeah,
Hero,
yeah.
but like I don't want to turn this into a My Hero Academia discussion.
Well, it's so funny how the best superhero stories, the best Superman stories, are coming from characters that are not Superman. They're Superman knockoffs. All Might, I love his Superman-esque story, and Homelander as well.
I mean, it's also a different world. My Hero Academia is more sympathetic towards heroes, obviously, because the main character wants to be a hero.
Yeah, it's also not.
It's also a world where more of the world has powers than don't. So that kind of changes the dynamic a bit.
Well, that's what I liked about this is that there was such an abundance of them that you kind of got the broad scope of humanity within the superheroes. Because usually if it's only a few, they're kind of all on the same team, they're all the same morals. They have their little squabbles, but like look at the MCU, they're all relatively good characters. Then you have the bad characters. It's very black and white. Where
It also kind of exposes the weaknesses of like a society who depends on superheroes building proper infrastructure. Like
yeah,
like the mayor of, was it Baltimore
yeah.
or governor, whatever he
I think
was.
he was the mayor. Yeah.
He's spending all this money to get a superhero in his town, but won't actually like address the proper issues that are causing like the rising crime and all
Yeah,
this
it's
stuff.
just like you have this.
what hero were they going to get?
I think it was like a hero who's like an up and comer
Okay.
or a newcomer.
It's a good get, though.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you're there, you're at the meeting. Right, and it's the same thing with the military. They were more reluctant and resistant.
And it's the similar. It's like Superman is a nuke. Like if you have a Superman, he's a nuke.
well, that's why
They make that comparison in the
what
show.
Tony Stark says in Civil War, they don't grant visas to weapons of mass destruction when he's talking about Wanda.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's like when that scene where Homelander shows up and he just lasers everyone in that warehouse and the military's like behind him.
It's a great
And it's like
scene.
you are on the side of the military where you're terrified. Like you see Homelander and you realize
But they're the real heroes.
Yeah, that is. You're forgetting a very important point, Marissa.
Well, that was their whole...
People on the plane.
I mean, that's their whole goal, I guess. You know, they have all the money, they have the acclaim, but once you get into the military, you pretty much control the world.
like
Oh,
the more realistic aspects of what having superheroes in the world would be like. Like in comic books, like the Justice League would not be allowed to exist unmonitored like that. They just have their satellite in space. That wouldn't happen.
Well, that's Watchmen when they do the Wagner, the dun 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 dun, and Dr. Manhattan is just walking through Vietnam, obliterating everybody.
Yeah.
That was Watchmen. They helped Nixon get reelected and reelected and reelected because they just completely took control of the world with these superheroes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they did with The Boys. It's very similar to Watchmen. Everybody's trying to be Alan Moore with their Watchmen knockoffs, but The Boys was great. I love this season. I feel like we could keep talking about it for hours, but I don't know. What would you give this season out of 10, Marissa? If you had
Like
to
a
rate it?
8 or 9. It's not perfect by any means. There are a couple moments where I'm like, that was corny. But in general, like I really liked it, the world building. Like I'm interested in this world and to see where it's going to go, which if you want someone to watch the next season of your show, that's what you should do.
I feel like, you know, like Twitter accounts that are verified,
Yeah.
but they follow like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's Homelander. It's like, oh, Homelander just followed me. And you go click his profile, like following 2 million people.
200,000.
It'd be Becca who followed you.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, I did like the world building, just how they focused in on all of the, I guess, it was kind of like Hollywood celebrity mixed with politician. Like, you have to adhere to the masses. And even Homelander, to an extent, adheres by those rules as well, because he can very easily just take over the world and instill and rule with fear, but he's chosen to do it in the way where people like him and want him to, I guess, to
Which
be
is
this
also
presence.
really interesting in itself. Like he is really like barely leashed.
Yeah.
And it's like, what at this point is keeping him tethered to humanity?
I think
Like,
it's
why
just-
doesn't he just go crazy?
I think it's that longing that he has for that normal life.
This is
That
completely.
he got so broken up about seeing that blanket.
I mean,
He was sad.
the notion of him having a kid he didn't know about, he looked torn up about it.
Yeah, he did when he's laying on her lap.
Yeah, and there's also, this is a ridiculous comparison, but like Moana.
No, there's no ridiculous comparisons here. I was gonna make a Lilo and Stitch comparison, but go ahead.
Maui's character, he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to be loved by humanity.
Right,
And he does all these things, and then they perceive him as a villain,
right.
but he's doing it to be loved by humanity.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know if he's. I don't want to call him a benevolent dictator, but he kind of is, because the other side of that would be Dr. Manhattan. I don't want to be loved by humanity. I don't care.
Yeah.
I
Or
kind of just
Injustice Superman.
right. But then you think of, if like Saddam Hussein had Homelander's powers, what would he be doing? He'd be taking over the world with an iron fist. I'd like to see that. I guess that's more Injustice Superman, where it's very much I'm the boss. Nobody can.
Homelander isn't indifferent towards humanity. He wouldn't just go to Mars and sit on a rock and not do anything.
No, he would never do that.
But it's also not like Moana, where Maui loved humanity and that's why he wanted their approval. I wouldn't say Homelander even loves people either, but he still wants their approval, and I feel like that's something that he is conflicted with. Like, that's a conflict within himself that he hasn't really figured out how to deal with. And I feel like his kid is going to be some kind of, if not solution, a new wrinkle in that.
I'm very interested to see how they're going to handle that.
Yeah,
they
of
handle
my
Homelander
season
with the home
2
life.
wants, I need to see how Homelander deals with this kid.
I need to see Homelander in a dad sweater with Clark
Yeah, just
Kent
like
glasses.
suburban life.
Yes.
If he doesn't immediately take his kid out on like a publicity tour,
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. Well, I wonder who's going to run the company now, because they introduced Giancarlo Esposito as, what was that character's name again? Edgar?
The big boss. I hope he has a bigger role and he's like a main cast member for season 2.
he's also, Homelander was like, he's a minute away from a coronary. Did he say that?
Yeah.
Was that about Edgar?
Yeah, I think so. Which is kind of a shame, because that actor is,
I was surprised when I saw it was him.
yeah, I mean, he's so imposing. And to see, because even Homelander seemed to have some sort of respect for him, because when Stillwell says Edgar wrote these lines, Homelander's like, oh, fuck. Looks like I got to say them.
And now Stillwell's dead. I mean, he'll probably just be like, oh, I got to stay. I got to be more hands-on.
Yeah, I wonder how they handle that internally in Vought with Stillwell. Yeah, I'm sure Homelander's not going to try and hide it. So, I killed her.
Well, I mean,
Don't lie to me.
her house was blown up. He could easily blame it on Billy.
Yeah, that is, it's a good point. Or the Deep is going to find out that and then rat on him. That was funny when the Deep ratted on him in episode 2
Oh, yeah.
about the lasers in the plane. Yeah, season 1 of The Boys. Very excited for season 2. And it was a surprising new addition to the world of television, but a welcomed one, because it was very well done.
Now I have Amazon, so that's cool.
Yeah, you can order some books or...
Oh, I totally used my dad's Amazon account.
Don't say that. They're going to crack down on us. Somebody said Amazon Prime is literally giving them money so you can buy stuff for the free shipping. It's like $15 extra a month so you can buy more stuff with free shipping.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, guys. We'll see you. Thanks for listening. Hey, guys. Thank you for watching this video. And, of course, we would like to thank our Patreon supporters. Without you guys, Nerd Soup wouldn't be Nerd Soup. Seriously, your support is what keeps the fridge full, so thank you once again for your support. If you are interested in supporting Nerd Soup through Patreon, visit our page and check out the different rewards we offer to our fans. If not, then no problem. We appreciate anyone who takes time from their day to watch our videos. So thank you to each and every one of you out there watching, and remember to like and share this video. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like it. Or don't.